Whether or not that story that Mike Adams covered, I remembered his name this time, um, about the Chi-Com billionaire that has all that property out in West Texas, whether or not that's true, and I believe it is, um, it really doesn't matter because what is true is that we already know that the Red Chinese have a civil military fusion policy. They owned our biggest ports for 20 so odd years, like Long Beach being the biggest one on the West Coast. They own the politicians, the political parasites that they've bought and paid for, that draft disastrous policies for this nation while at the same time leaving an air of plausible deniability so that they can say, oh, well, we didn't know it was going to lead to this, that, or the other. Well, they're letting in a lot of these foreign nationals, as I've said many, many times. And this nation is not exactly the hardest nation in the world to infiltrate by Trojan horse shock troops, uh, illegal smugglers, uh, human trafficking, illegal migrants. I mean, you name it. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's not the hardest nation in the world to get into, not by a long shot. In fact, it's probably one of the easiest. And what really makes the whole catastrophe so vast is the fact that foreign nationals, there's no laws in place in this nation. Like there are in other nations, there's no laws in place in this nation to prevent foreign nationals that are legally citizens of other nations from owning property in this nation. So then you take a nation like China that has a civil military fusion policy, which means that anything with a civilian use doubles as a military use. So that means that even private Chinese citizens, anything they own at any time can be brought under the auspices and control of the Red Chinese regime, the CCP. Um, so basically, what I'm getting at here is I'm saying that fob story about them building a fob and a runway, that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's not even mentioning all the numerous thousands upon thousands of acreage that they own in this nation that could easily be, double as forward operating bases for their Trojan horse shock armies and their fifth column. All the properties, the even individual houses. I mean, they think of all the dual use potential that lies out there. I've covered this millions of times. I mean, I know you guys are sick of hearing it, but this is the context for which I'm going to discuss that story that Mr. Adams covered about the new runway being built out in West Texas in close proximity to the Fort Bliss base, the Army base on the border there with Mexico. That's a very strategic location, and the name of the ranch is allegedly Morning Star Ranch. You just can't make some of this stuff up. And it's a huge property, and it figures into a lot of this, the setting us up for a paralyzing, just total flip of one day it's our control, next day it's theirs. I mean, it's not that, it wouldn't be that hard to take this nation down. We've been so deindustrialized while China's massively industrialized. You have them teaming up with Russia, who has the biggest nuclear arsenal on the planet, I should say declared nuclear arsenal, because there's no telling how many reserves every nation has. But that's very, very troubling, because even though our declared arsenal is much larger than the Red Chinese, I mean, you can't really do anything with it when they're already inside your borders. And these Trojan horse shock troops being in such close proximity to strategic locations, I mean, you could literally go to bed one night, um, something massive like a cyber uh, issue could occur that shuts off the power grid and everything. You would totally, and then China has their anti-satellite weaponry too. They can hit your satellites. You won't even be able to see anything that's going on. You'll be totally blind and deaf, until it's right upon you. So think about that. So whenever they launch their massive coordinated uh, Trojan horse strike, I'll call it, um, you could go to bed one night, and then when you wake up, hell, it could even still be dark out, and you'll wake up, and there'll be floodlights on your street, and people yelling in a foreign language, and uh, you know, the rumble of tanks, and you go out your front door to see what the hell's going on, and then you'll see that your neighborhood's literally flooded with foreign troops from another country, and you'll wonder to yourself, how in the actual hell did this occur? I went to bed last night and everything was peaceful and quiet and calm, and then, I wake up to this. There's foreign troops running around, rounding people up, and dragging people out of their homes. I mean, that's literally how it could happen. I mean, that's how I see it happening. I mean, it could happen so fast. It would be totally paralyzing. Our troops wouldn't even be able to do anything about it. They wouldn't even be able to respond. They'll probably be having troubles of their own in their own actual installations, because that if the Chi-Coms have whole shock armies of troops on our soil, that they very well could paralyze the installations too. I mean, they could just take it over in a matter of hours. I mean, and being that I was in the Army, I know how difficult and arduous of a process it is just to sign out your rifle from the arms room, and to acquire your rounds to go down to the range, like to the rifle range to practice with. That was a process, and that process would eat up precious time were something like this to occur in actuality, in reality. That would eat up so much time, and that would be time that we really wouldn't have. So I said all that to say this, be very, very vigilant. If the power goes out, expect the worst, the worst case scenario. You need to expect the worst, because, you never know what might happen. So may Yeshua bless and keep you all always.